may be, no matter how destructive and self-destructive it may appear, no matter how great the distance between the middle class revolt in the metropolis and the life and death struggle of the wretched of the earth, common to them is the depth of the refusal. It makes them reject the rules of the game that is rigged against them, the ancient strategy of patience and persuasion, the reliance on the goodwill and the establishment, its false and immoral concerns, its cruel affluence. I just wanted to point out here, too, by the way, it's interesting he uses the phrase wretched of the earth, because if you remember in our post-colonial studies, we mentioned Frantz Fanon, who was like a proto-post-colonialist. He was from Martinique, and he wrote about Algeria and other countries. He wrote a book called The Wretched of the Earth, and in Repressive Tolerance, in a section, he actually cites Jean-Paul Sartre, who wrote the foreword to Fanon's book, to that book. So I thought that was interesting. He used that phrasing in here.
Yeah. That's another thing I think it's good to point out here is the floor is the floor.
Yeah.
State of nature is the floor. State of nature is what we see with gorillas and chimps and what we see on nature channels and things like that. That's state of nature. State of nature is brutal. State of nature doesn't care. Yeah. That's the organic state of existence, is misery and suffering. It's not even misery and suffering. It's indifference and momentum. It's just things go. Nothing stops. This whole idea, like people who have objections to earning a living, how dare, like, why should I have to earn a living? What life form do they think doesn't earn its living?
Yeah.
This because other life forms, because jellyfish don't have like currency, doesn't mean a jellyfish can just like, or maybe jellyfish might not be existing because a jellyfish is like almost a situation where it can just float around and just take in like plankton, but it still needs to like move around. Like if you just limited the jellyfish to one location of, if you just put it in one box of seawater, it would eventually end up eating up all the plankton in that seawater and die. It would have to move to somewhere else in order to get more plankton or something. So plants, trees have to somehow head towards, that's where they'll go through concrete, because they have to somehow extend themselves towards the sunlight. They have to earn that sunlight if it's not there. They don't just sit there, and they have to photosynthesize. There's processes going on. We have to breathe. But some of these things are things that we just do without actually thinking or breathing. Yeah. Like you don't forget, but that's the thing, like life forms have to earn their living in their own aspect of what earnings is. And this is what I'm saying, like when people tie earning into just currency, they don't understand how much of an actual boon to society having currency has been. Yet there's still people alive right now who still live in barter trades. If people truly understood this unknown history, they would understand that even before there was currency, people had to do things to earn their living. Do they seriously think that if we just took away all money, took away all society, took away all the advancements that we've had of modern civilizations, there would just be some kind of, like you're talking about, this is the thing, that socialist kumbaya, that heaven kind of idea where they're just going to like exist and just be okay. Like, where are you going to get the resources to just exist and be okay? You have people making $60,000 from playing video games.
Yeah.
Like, sure, that person has earned that through time. So the floor is the floor. The floor is here. In the past, the highest we were able to get was here. Like the kings, the richest people, the 0.001% of people were here. They were still mired in that mire for majority of society. Now we have a situation where the top people are now here because of all the advances that we've had. But a lot of these other people, there's other people at these levels. These people at the top might fluctuate up and down to this point because of just the achievements that they have. But the people at the bottom are also in general fluctuating like this. It's people in the middle classes are normally fluctuating in the middle, those kind of things. But that whole concept, that whole thing has been done in part due to currency, in part of finding more effective and productive and useful ways to earn livings, to make different things out of yourself. So I think that's a frustration people might have, like, I chose to do this and nobody else finds this enough to give me enough things. This can't earn me the life that I think I deserve to have. But that's the decisions you made. And some of the things, not the decisions, some of the things, somebody was completely accurate and said, I'm going to go into like taking care of horses because everybody uses horses. And the Model T came by and the Model T was able to do the work of 100 horses and that took it over. And then that person might have found different things to do, or that person might have lost their living. But it's not from like, that's part of life. But also in a state of nature, somebody could be the most best human being ever and live the most best useful to the society, give everything out, share everything equally, and the lion just eats his face
Yeah.
because that lion was just like wandering around. Like, that's also state of nature. So which one would you prefer to live in? And I prefer the current society. But yeah.
Well, to add to what you just said, this is that recurring theme that comes up with the college degrees. Like I brought up gender studies a little while ago. Like people think, oh, you're just picking on it because you find it absurd. Now, obviously, there is a degree of that, but I make the point. It's not about what I want or what I find valuable. It's about what the market wants. If you just want to study something that's a hobby and then whatever, it's like it's not sustainable to have everyone do that. And in the current arrangement, okay, your parents pay for it, fine. But should we tax other people and subsidize that? Why? I mean, why? What is the more not just economic, but what's even the moral case to pay to study hobbies? It's okay, like a petroleum engineer makes 90K a year starting off. Obviously, very good money. But I mean, you have to know chemistry, you have to know physics, you have to know math, you have to know all these things. Those are valuable skills. Even with more green energy being used, we're still using petroleum. It's not going to disappear immediately. So those skills are still valuable. But again, it's about what is the market demand. I mean, I don't think I would have the kind of math skills, or I like science, but I'm not so passionate about it where that would be a good career for me. But the point is there are people out there who value that. So it's worth paying a person that. Just saying, I find this interesting, people should pay me. It's ultimately a very narcissistic idea.
Yeah, and because this is the thing I think about, like this video games thing. Pretty much anyone, your average person who's talking about they don't have a living wage. If you listen to this, or if you listen to this, the people who are saying that probably have access to listen to this as well. They can pick up StarCraft. If you go to like the Steam store, StarCraft costs like $50 or something. StarCraft 2. I think you can get a machine that can run it pretty well, competitive level well, like for like $2,000. And most people can get some kind of job. You can even take out a loan or something where you can do some kind of job where you can save up in a year or so to get that thing. Then just sit in your room, get your rather cheap internet that you have, and put in the time. Then you too can make $60,000 to just play a video game. Like, what's stopping you? Like, there's many things stopping you, because some of those things also, like you're saying with like the math thing, like I was talking about, those people are actually using certain calculations where it's like, I like the game, I find it entertaining enough, but I can't imagine myself ever studying the game enough to be even close to how good these people are at that thing. But that's the decision that they decided to make. Something much simpler. OnlyFans, the OnlyFans rage, where some women go on and they're just like, I was Belle Delphine. She went on and she released a sex tape at the end of the last year. But somebody was talking about the math of it. She had a $35 a month to subscribe to get that sex tape. And she had something like, I think it was something like 40,000 subscribers.
Wow.
At $35 a month. So even if it was just like a couple of months of that, I don't know the exact number of it. I just heard somebody doing the calculations of it a bit ago. But it was like millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And that's because she started as a meme for some years back, and she was going to the cosplay. And first of all, she has the physicality to be attractive enough to do these things. Then she got in the access of it, dedicated herself to the bit, built up the fandom and things. But there's many other girls who are physically attractive doing similar things, but for some reason she got into that situation, got herself in that position. But OnlyFans is literally just women going on there and being like, pay me money for pictures of myself just existing.
Yeah.
And some people are making millions off of that.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean I could go on. Doesn't mean none of us, we won't be able to go on and do that. But even your average woman can't just go on and do that.
No.
What kind of socialist society? What would be the socialist Belle Delphine? Where is the space for the socialist like StarCraft 2 players? Where is the space for those people in that existence? I don't know if they exist.
No, and again, I think I made this point in a previous video, and we'll talk about it more in the human action. But it's the whole, like, people just think people still have sort of that labor theory of value mindset. Like they see it as, oh, I put effort, it deserves a reward. No, it's about the customer value is subjective. It's about what they want. Like people may think, oh, it's stupid she posts those videos and those pictures, but people are willing to pay for it. As long as people are willing to pay, she's going to do it. And it's like, it comes down to the consumer and preferences. Like, again, the petroleum engineer thing, it's not, that work is hard. You have to know all those things, but it's the end product. It's the product that you're able to produce that's worth that value, because you can do that. You can bring in how much petroleum refinement, processing, all this stuff, ultimately that could make millions of dollars. So it's worth paying the person that much for that end result. Again, you can sit there and say it's unfair, but again, what value are you providing?
Thank you for listening. This has been a clip from an actual longer recording that I'll try to leave a link to on the screen or somewhere around here where you're listening to this.
Presents. 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 Presents.
Peasants.
Okay. Okay.